Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Martine's Musings podcast. I'm your host, Martine Felton, and today I have a guest with me by the name of Lauren Dreher. She is a writer and a speaker and here to talk with us about her book and what she has going on. How you doing, Lauren?
I am great. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very, very welcome. So, your book, Go With Your Gut, Then Keep Going. Tell me about that book. I really, really love the title. So, tell me about the book and more importantly, how did you come up with that title?
So, the book is a journey of how I went from kind of a dark place, and I one day just made the decision that I was not happy where I was, and I essentially said, "Okay, there's something more. The pain of staying here is a lot worse than the pain of figuring out how to get myself out of it."
Hmm.
And so I just made that decision and started doing the things that I felt like I needed to do. One of those things that started was um, I wrote down a I wrote down a I said, okay, no matter how crazy this sounds, what would I like to do?
I read that in your book in the beginning. And I thought
Absolutely.
that was cool.
And then two of those things were a speaker and a personal chef. Turns out a personal chef has a lot of limitations that I didn't really want to have to deal with.
Hmm.
And so I said, I have a story. I have a past that can help people that I would love to talk about and motivate and inspire people. So
Hmm.
I went with that and I also found myself waking up angry. I was not an angry person growing up, and so I was so conflicted, and I had no idea why I felt that way. So I started journaling, and I figured out that that got me to process all the crap stirring around in my head. It allowed me to see that a lot of things that I was worked up about or mad about, whatever it was, were not really anything, more of just things that were swirling around in my head that I was making a bigger deal out of or
Yeah.
whatever it was. So I started doing that. And after probably a week, maybe two, I realized like my mind just started changing. Being like, I started feeling lighter and I the longer I did it, my mindset started to shift and I started having a different outlook on things and I'm like this is powerful.
Hmm.
So the book goes through sort of that turning point and all of the different things that I have done to pull myself out of that place and propel myself forward and really step into who I am and who I want to be. And it actually started out, I wanted to call it Road Less Traveled because
Okay.
I thought, okay, well, I feel like I'm, beating my own path here and, doing something fewer people decide to do. And then someone asked me, I don't even remember what they asked me, but they asked me about like what I wanted. And I said, I I want to do I want to be a speaker, I want to be on stage, and I want to get this book out so that I can help people. And I said, it's been about going with my gut. And no matter who decides to oppose me, no matter what someone tells me of,
Mhm.
you this is really hard, you can't probably do this, or whatever the case may be. In my gut, I said, no, I'm doing this. I'm going to make it happen. So I was like, that's it. Go with your gut, then keep going
Yeah.
and don't let anyone stop you. So That's where that came from.
That I really love that title. That's an awesome title. Why is going with your gut or following your intuition so important to you?
Because there will always be an army of people, including whoever is in your head telling you that you can't do something. There will always be those people to throw those wrenches in your plan. There will always be ourselves to throw that wrench in our plan. And there have been countless times where I have said to myself, okay, is this realistic? Can I do this? Should I do this? Is this something I can do? And never has that fire in my gut stopped. And I'm like, okay, no, I'm gonna go with my gut instinct. I'm gonna keep doing this regardless of what may be popular opinion or unpopular opinion, anything. And I'm just gonna keep doing what I want to do, and I'm gonna keep doing what makes me happy, whether people want to tell me if I'm crazy or stupid or
Mhm.
whatever the case may be. So I have learned to listen to that deep burning gut feeling, and regardless of who wants to criticize me or whatever the case may be, keep on going.
Really relate with that because when you pay attention to what other people think or their opinions, and it just really screws you up, and then you don't know what the difference is between your intuition or your gut feeling or what other people are telling you. You get confused, and then then that cycle begins of overwhelm and then not being unsure of yourself, and it's just really a toxic place to be when you find yourself in a place where you're not connected to your intuition.
Yes, and it's really hard to push past that opinion when it comes from someone's opinion who you highly respect, you
Hmm.
highly value, and it's happened. And I've learned to take it and say, I'm going. Thank you, but I'm going.
Hmm. I agree. How do you stay connected or tapped into your intuition?
There there are days that are so hard, and I feel like my brain is just like in a storm of who can throw me off track. And then I sit down, and a lot of times I get out a journal and I just write it out because
Yeah.
that is how I process it best. And most of the time, if I can at least write it out, I can figure out what my brain is making up compared to, like, no, I can keep going. I can do this. And some days I am on fire. The world is like propelling me, forward, and everything is just in alignment. And those are the days that I'm like, this is where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
And those other days I have to fight so hard through and think, okay, what can I do to get back in it? How can I take some time for myself? And some of those days I really have to talk myself through, because you just feel like the world's throwing everything at you to
Hmm.
stop you. And it'll happen, and it gets louder. The further you get, the further you push. So I I've always found that when I sit down and take a minute and either write it out or listen to something that speaks positivity in me,
Yes.
like, okay, I got this. yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. Like, my brain's going to do anything to detract me right now, you know?
Yeah. I'm
But
really
you can,
into journaling
there,
too.
there is just that fire that as much as I can try to turn it off sometimes because it gets irritating when I'm just like, this day sucks. That, that fire will not go out. I'm like, okay, I'll keep going.
So, what do you think? Um, like I said, I read a little bit of your book. I started
Mhm.
reading I read the first two chapters so far, and um, I really like that you had that list of the craziest, like, I get, well, you say they were crazy, but they weren't really crazy things. You know what I mean? Just things that you would never have thought of doing, and I really like that. And I was like, wow, I'm going to put together a list like that. Not that I right now I'm at a place of where I know what I want to do. I want to do this podcast. I want to coach. I want to just do my own thing and hopefully not have to report to my corporate job anymore in like a year or two. um, but it's all a challenge. It's all a challenge of that's the whole point. It's all a challenge of getting there. And so, what do you think has been like your greatest challenge throughout this journey of writing your book and finding out what you want to do, getting up, getting out, and speaking? What has been your greatest challenge?
There have been two equally as great challenges.
Hmm.
One is myself, and the fact that I I try everything I can to block myself wherever I can and say, like, can I do this? Or um, I'll try to make up some reason why I can't do something. Or I, like everybody else, I'll use an excuse of, because of this I can't make it happen, or this person's not letting me do it. And
Hmm.
I've had to work so hard at changing that thinking into, well, that's a situation. How can I make it happen anyway? How can I get out of my head and get creative and get resourceful and do this? That has been one challenge. The other one is writing that book. There was a lot of people whose stories were also involved in it.
Hmm.
I wrote that book 3 times because of it. The first time I tried to write it, I couldn't get past, I think, chapter 2 or 3. I don't remember which one. And I couldn't get past the fact that I said other people have stories in this book. Other people have helped me in this journey. And I didn't want to offend anyone or tell it for them
Hmm.
or change it for them, I guess. And that was such a huge roadblock for me, and I couldn't get past that. And I talked to a publisher who I met, and we got on a call, and I told her that story, and she goes, let me tell you something. She goes, I want to offer a piece of advice, and it is, this is your story.
Hmm.
You're telling your story, and other people may have a hand in it, but this is your story. You're the one that's writing the book. Like, the people who are reading this don't care about the accuracy or anything in that. So I had to get past what may not be maybe completely accurate from when I was as young as I was for some of the stories in there. it may not be accurate, or it may not be how they remember it, but it's how I remember it. So
Right.
I had to get past that a lot and say, I understand that this may not be how you remember it, or maybe what actually happened, but it's my journey. It's my story, and it's what influenced me for my memories.
Right.
That was that was really hard in getting past the fact that I was putting it out there regardless. It's very hard to get past outside opinions of things like that, and I had to get past that a lot too.
I'm sorry. I thought I heard something over here, like my outlet or something was like, sounds like it was sizzling or something. If things are just not going right for me today.
I can relate.
But were you confronted with anyone who I don't know, who didn't like what you said about them or about a situation that involved them in the book? Were you like, yeah, directly confronted?
Um, no,
Hmm.
I don't. I don't know if they've read it for one.
Oh, okay.
But so this the book, as you've probably gathered a little bit, is
Hmm.
very, very vulnerable for me, and um, I don't know if anybody would who is in it would actually confront me. A lot of I've seen a lot of people who don't want the confrontation, so I would be very interested if someone did, but I would hope that they would get the fact that it's, I mean, definitely not offensive. I don't think I put anything
Hmm.
offensive in there, but
Yeah.
no one has confronted me. I know my parents were both nervous for me to put it out because they knew how personal it was. My mom's actually the one that told me I should write a book.
Right.
And she's told me before that it makes her nervous because, it's like it's watching your kid perform essentially,
Yes.
and it's out
Hmm.
there for the world to see. And I'm like, well, I understand that.
Yeah.
Hopefully it works out and we're good with it. So
Yeah, that's a good perspective of it. I mean, writing a memoir is can be, I know when I wrote mine, um, it was kind of therapeutic in a way because I used a lot of my old journals to bring, to write about all the stories that I had. I went through a lot of toxic relationships, and I wrote everything down back when I was in my 20s and my 30s, and I still journal to this day. But when you're in your 20s, and you're dating, and it's it's like hit and miss. And so I wrote a lot of things down, and when I went back and read my journals from years ago, I realized that I had like there was like a common thread here, a series of toxic relationships where I didn't really love myself and I wasn't honoring myself. I was a people pleaser. I was highly empathic and unaware at the time that I was empathic. So I always found myself in narcissistic relationships. And yeah, and I realized that common thread and I was like, wow, I could probably help other people if I put all of these stories and all of this pain and growth and journeying all in a book. And that's how, I came. That was my writing process, and it was really healing. I don't know if you found, writing your book. Did you find that, it to be healing for you in a way?
absolutely. I it was and that's probably why I rewrote it a few times, because the first one where I actually got all the way through was definitely me writing out the stories and writing out
Mm-hmm.
the uncomfortable experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And some of it made the last draft, some of it didn't, just because it wasn't relevant and it didn't need to be in there.
Yeah, it
Maybe it will.
didn't push the story forward. I did a lot of that too. Like I felt like it was overkill. It was just like
Yes, and,
the same thing over and over.
and someday I might write something else and put it in there, but it
Hmm.
wasn't for this.
Right.
So yes, it was absolutely, it was very therapeutic. There was, I laugh and tell people this book was not my blood, sweat, and tears, but it was my gut, sweat, and tears, because I poured my guts out, and there was definitely a lot of tears in the writing of it, because
Hmm.
it stirred up a lot of stuff, like you said.
Yeah, it does. It does. And like your speaking, how did you get into, speak public, speaking?
So I have always actually kind of liked being in front of people.
Hmm.
Um, when I was a freshman in high school, I decided to run for student council, and my freshman class had 541 people in front of it, in it. And I had to get up in front of everybody, and I seriously did the YMCA, but I spelled out Stuco instead. And
Okay.
I did that 3 times in front of everybody, and I was terrified to get up there. But after I was done, I remember walking down. I was like, that was so cool. And I've always,
Adrenaline was going.
one thing I have been getting used to being okay. I like spotlight, and I just I love helping people, and I like spotlight. And I've discovered that when I'm in front of people, I I tend to just kind of light up.
Right. Yeah.
And so I said I need to do something with that. I said if I can help people with like if I can help people, gain some confidence or learn from the stuff that I've been through, or
Mhm.
share my struggles and help them through theirs, how can I help, even like how can I help more people? How can I like make a bigger impact? And I'm like, okay, let's get on stage and do this. And when people are like, why do you want to be on stage? I'm like, that does that not sound fun to you? When most people are, I guess, terrified. It's one of the, it's like the number one fear
It
ever.
is. It is terrifying. I'm not I'm not, I want to, like you, I want to do it. I'm not big on public speaking, but I know that that is a way to reach many people. And so I kind of settled for my podcast. And at first I didn't do video like I'm doing now. It was just strictly audio, and that even scared the shit out of me. I was like, how are you? You need to speak. Like, you have to use your throat chakra and open it up and speak so that, everyone can hear what you have to say. So then I moved on to the video and the the audio, and we'll see if I make it to public speaking one day. Might see me on a TED Talk a few years from now. Is
There
that
you go.
something you want to do?
It is a big goal of mine.
Yeah.
Yep. I I would love to do as many conferences as I can,
Mm-hmm.
or I don't care if it's on video. I would love to be live. Um, podcasts are
Hmm.
fantastic if they can reach a lot of people,
Right.
or just one. I don't care.
Right.
But um, yeah, and then I talk about this a little bit in the book too. I signed up for a online. public speaking class because that makes sense. But it helped, and everybody on there, they were taught, like, the class was structured towards figuring out how to write a speech. Then everybody was like, "Oh, I went to Toastmasters, and it was fantastic. I got up to speak. I'm so excited," and I did not want to go. And by the end of the class, I said, "Okay, fine, I'm gonna go." And
Mm-hmm.
I went to that first meeting. I was terrified because it was at a Denny's, and I was more terrified to ask the server where the meeting was than anything. And I
Right.
got back there, and I got up and did some impromptu speaking, and I told somebody, I said, I'm gonna be a professional speaker. I'm gonna be a public speaker. They're like, well, you're in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that. I I got up and did their impromptu speaking, which is called table topics. And I sat down and, like, I was terrified, but I was just like, that was amazing. Like, that's all I want to do now.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, there's my fire. Let's
There you
do
have
this.
it. What is Toastmasters anyway?
So Toastmasters is a professional speaking organization, and they help you develop your communication skills, your leadership skills,
Mm-hmm.
uh, all of those things. So you have prepared speeches. You have a couple, well, two or three formal speeches, and they give you a pathway, which is um, it's you take a survey at the beginning, and then your goals, they give you a pathway. Mine right now is leadership development. And
Okay.
so, based on your pathway, it gives you a lot of different projects to help develop all of those skills and leading a team and engaging that audience, all of those things that you need to learn to do. And
Right.
so, you do the prepared speeches, and then they give you an evaluation based on how you did, your voice, your ability to command the audience, your hand movements, all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
So they they work on the communication aspect, or they also focus a lot on they do time. All of it is timed. So if you have to deal with, a meeting, or, hey, I need you to give me a 5-minute rundown to your boss or something like that,
Oh, okay.
you kind of are able to judge on how long that is, or keep a meeting going. So they develop all those skills because you also take part in, like, all the different meeting roles.
Mm-hmm.
So you
Mm-hmm.
learn a little bit of everything, but it is a fantastic organization, and it'll definitely develop you.
I'm interested. I might look
Yeah.
that up. I'm definitely going to look that up. So, would you what do you want your readers to take away from reading Go With Your Gut?
I want them to take away that they can do they can do the hard things. They can do they can do those things that, they're terrified to do. And it's going to be hard. It's going to take work. It's going to take a change in, probably, lifestyle, your daily routine. It's going to be a mindset shift. It's going to take work, but the work is worth it. And surround yourself with the people that breathe life into you.
Right.
And number one, get it far down deep in your gut that you can do it. Because if you truly to your core believe that you can, you'll find a way to make something happen. But you're you can do it. But you have to learn to go with your gut and maybe let go of some of those opinions.
Yeah, I agree. I like that a lot. Thank you. That's perfect. So, I'm a, um, a certified coach, and I specialize in self care and embodying self love and things of that nature. And I always ask my guests, what are their self care practices. So, do you have any self care practices that you'd like to share with the audience?
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Something I do every single morning. I get up before my entire household gets up
Me too.
because, and I get up, I listen to a devotional,
Hmm.
and I journal
Hmm.
so that I can set intention for my day. Uh, I can find a couple wins in the past 24 hours, and I can figure out what my day needs to look like and work through some of the things that maybe I'm nervous about that day. So
Okay.
I do that, but I just have some quiet time, and some people don't like quiet time, and there's guided whatever you need,
Hmm.
but have some time for yourself.
Yes.
And I mean, I'm sometimes I need more than that,
Hmm.
but the other thing I would say is, regardless of how weird it makes you feel or whatever the case may be, even maybe finding something new, find something that gives you energy. I didn't know that writing would give me energy. It didn't used to. But now if I sit down, and whether it be on a computer or physical paper,
Hmm.
find something that gives you the energy, listening to music, getting outside, who knows, whatever it is for you. Find that and find some time in your day to do it.
Right.
And it is, you may have to move some things around, but it's so worth it.
I agree. I like doing that. I'm a big journaler too, and I do the same thing. I get up in the morning. I might work out a little bit or meditate and journal. And I like to listen to binaural beats, my headphones on, like meditation music. It really like helps you, whatever you're writing about, it just flows, it just comes out. And I'm like, who wrote that? Did I just write like 5 pages worth of what? You know, it's
Yep,
super calming. And I love that because yeah, we have that in common. So thank you. This has been a really wonderful conversation.
absolutely.
And so where can people find you and find your book?
So my book is on my website, which is livelifewithlauren.com. And I don't have it in paperback yet. That is coming, and I am halfway through recording the audio, so that is coming as well. But I have the PDF version as well as a link to Amazon on my website.
Okay.
The Kindle version is on Amazon as well. You can type in, I believe if you type in my name, Lauren Dreher, it'll come up. Or you can, I'm on social media. My Facebook is Living Life with Lauren, and my Instagram is live.life.with.lauren. The other one was not available. So that is where you can find me.
Okie dokie. So, yeah, I've put those things on the screen, and I'm going to have that information once we get off. You can give me your Instagram again, and I will put all of that information in the description for people to reach out to you and get your book and
Okay.
just be in touch. And I want to thank everyone for listening and watching. For those of you who are interested, register for my free 3-day masterclass to disable your limitations on my website, martinepelton.com. And go ahead to my website. You can purchase my book there as well at martinepelton.com. And it's on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles online. So, everyone, thank you again for listening and watching for at another episode of Martine's Musings. And I will see you all and talk to you all next time. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.